if you feel like you could use a little extra psychic protection, but you're not quite sure who your guides are or when they're around or if they're even helping you, I hope that this video helps. This is Krishanti with Krishanti.com, and I'm so happy you're here. We can talk about all of this fun stuff: spirit guides, psychic development, and spiritual and personal growth. So the guide thing, so many people have a hard time figuring out who their guides are, how to connect to them, how to hear the messages that they're giving, and whether or not they even exist at all. It's a tricky subject. It took me quite a few years when I was learning how to be psychic to figure out who my guides were. And for a while there, all I knew about one of them was a color. I'm like, okay, that's my blue guide. That was enough, but it wasn't like now I have a name and I have way more of a connection and I understand when that guide's coming through, etc. So when you're going through that, but you still need help, like you need to feel like someone out there in the multiverse is on your side. There's some kind of being that's godlike, or God, him or herself, there that you can call on for protection and for divine support. One of the best things to do, if you haven't already established this like clear connection with your own guides, or even if you have and you just need to level up and you need like extra, is tune in to a spiritual being that people pray to, that they pray to now, because these spiritual beings have energy. They are real. They have the gifts. There's a reason why we look to them for support. But when you add everybody's praying to them and everybody's energy, the energization, like they're energizing that name and they're making it that much more powerful. I mean, we've got billions of people on earth. So imagine a spiritual being that billions of people pray to and believe in. You're tapping into that flow, and that magnifies that energy. I mean, this is what can help with miracles. It's that belief. Like I went to this place in New Mexico, a pilgrimage site, and when you get into the little room, it's in a church. When you get into a little room, there are all these crutches. Like the room is lined with crutches. You're like in a crutch rental place. There's so many crutches. There's crutches of people who walked in on crutches, prayed, and there's so much energy. I'm getting goosebumps to people really having had miracles happen, believing that miracles can happen too, that they're literally able to leave their crutches and walk out. It's like, that's like when we talk about the power of our minds, it's real. And I made a previous version of this video speaking about one spiritual avatar that really helps me out. I felt really uncomfortable and I deleted that video because when I've talked about this in the past and what I've seen on this channel and with other friends who are psychic is followers of this spiritual being are actually not really in the light, and they like to attack and try to tear down anyone that talks about intuition or people, accepting everyone for their color and who they are and where they're from, and accepting people for their sexual orientation. There's false light there, and I don't want to leave myself open to that kind of attack. I don't like it. It's not fair. I don't need that. So I'm not putting any names in here right now. And you honor and respect whatever practice you came from. I honor and respect your practice as well. But what I've noticed is if you believed in a spiritual being or a person, a spiritual, person who was one with God kind of thing, or someone in the Bible, if you believed in, and I want to make it like any other holy book too. There are many, and there are many very high level spiritual beings who are from God. If you believed in that as a child and you really had faith when you were little and maybe you strayed away or you're like, kind of doing your thing, sometimes connecting back with that when you really have a need, when life gets very hard and it's like the only one you can turn to is close to God, going back to something that you believed, I'm stumbling over my words, I'm sorry. It's going back to someone you believed in childhood will also magnify that energy. Again, it's your belief and it's your comfort. And if that being and the stories about that person gave you comfort as a child, it will help you as an adult. So whoever you want to follow, there are so many highly evolved, beautiful masters and beings in the light who are one with God. That's who you can connect to for like the direct support. I just tuned into one last night because the veil has been very thin and there's a lot of spirit activity that makes me very uncomfortable. These are the things you need to be aware of, and why if you would like to train with me to learn to be psychic, or I have a ton of programs there on my website, Krishantiw.com, or you're just going down that road, just be aware you do need to keep your energy very, very clear. And you need to be very careful because there are times when the Schumann resonance on the earth shifts. So the earth frequency shifts. We've got solar flares coming in and the veil is very thin. And many of us, especially those of us who are sensitive, are affected by it. But when the veil is thin, nasties and ghosties and beings we don't usually have to interact with can come through and bother us. So that has been happening with me. And I tune into this specific spiritual teacher, guide, master, who I also prayed to when I was a little girl. And I definitely felt that presence and I felt that light immediately. And I know for a fact it was a combination of the being itself, himself, herself. I mean, there really are genderless once they leave the earth plane, but we identify them with genders because that's how we categorize and associate things. But I felt such an energy, but it was that being, it was the billions of people energizing that and praying to that being and believing in the miracles that come and that happen when you pray. And then it was, my childhood belief, like my mind. So it's all of those things together that make a big difference. Before I wrap up though, and before you go, if this resonates with you on any level, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear if you've had this experience. Are there certain spiritual teachers or who have evolved on and aren't here anymore that really come through for you? I'd love to hear these experiences because it's really important that we talk about all this and who are we turning to now? Like who's there, who's on hand, who's providing support on the other side? And then if you'd like to continue on your journey or even just start your journey, I have so many beautiful resources at Krishantiw.com, including a library of channeled energy healings from the Ascended Masters, which is a group of highly evolved spiritual beings that talk to me. I'm really fortunate in that, and give me tools to share with you. So check all that out at Krishantiw.com. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.